Now this is worksheet 2, and this one deals with depreciation. And we're looking at how to handle an item, an asset that we're going to use over a year's time. So that, let's say we're going to use it for 5 years. Instead of accepting that full initial cost in the first year, we're going to spread it over the 5 years we use it. So then you have various ways of handling how to record that expense or that allocation of asset cost. And there are actually 4 items you need to be aware of. The initial cost, if it's worth anything when you're finished with it, which is called the residual value, and that will equal the depreciation cost overall. And then you look at the useful life. And that you will take the actual depreciation cost, okay, divided by the useful life, and that will give you your depreciation expense. And we're going to look at 3 ways. One way we're going to look at it is the units of production. Let's see if I got this right. Yes, this is units of production. Right here. Straight line depreciation, and then double declining depreciation. Units of production works, they all have the same basic calculation to begin with. So this tractor costs $214 to begin with. When we get done with it, after a period of 50,000 hours, we should be able to resell it for $30,000. This means by taking that $214 minus the $30,000, we get $184,000 as its actual cost, or how much we're going to use of that, what we bought it for. So now it's good for 50,000 hours. So if I take this initial outlay, or this initial cost, depreciable cost is what they call it, divide it by 50,000, I find out each hour that I use it, it costs $3.68. So that's a benchmark. That's our line. Now, in the first year, or during January, it was used 175 hours. So how much am I going to allocate for its depreciable cost? Well, I used it 175 hours, and each hour is going to be allocated $3.68. So I multiply that. So the monthly depreciation cost for this machine is $644. And that's denoted by making an entry for depreciation expense, $644. And we use accumulated depreciation, $644. Remember, because we value everything at cost, so I can't change that cost. That has to stay the same on my balance sheet. But what gets accumulated in the accumulated depreciation gets subtracted from that cost to give us what they call book value. And book value is cost minus accumulated depreciation, and that is used when we make a sale or when we sell an asset to find out if we have a gain or a loss. So to go through this whole process one more time, we're going to look at what it costs minus the residual, gives us the depreciable cost, divided by its life will give us the, in this case, per hour depreciation. That's the units of production. This very well could have been pieces or anything that you can use that you can measure that can be directly related to the production, the use of this item. So now let's look at straight line depreciation. And this is the easiest one to figure. Whole new scenario. Again, keep in mind, its cost is $90. It has no salvage value, no residual value. So we're going to allocate $90,000, the cost, over a 20-year useful life. Which means if I divide 90,000 by 20, I will come up with a per year depreciation cost of $4,500. Now, this one's yearly, this one was monthly. You will figure it, if he has to figure it in various assorted time periods. So, each year that you have this machine and use it, you will depreciate at $4,500. And that will look like depreciation expense $4,500 and accumulated depreciation expense $4,500. Now we're going to add a new figure for you, or a new calculation. That means we are depreciating this item 5% a year. It's 1 over 20. 1 year over 20 equals 5%. Now this becomes really, really important, because in our the next way that we can do depreciation is called double declining. And what we mean by double declining is I'm going to double what a normal straight line depreciation would be. And that one looks like this. So this one's a little more complex. So I begin with the 90,000. I'm going to depreciate it at double declining. So it's double the straight line. So I'm going to depreciate it at 10%. So if I multiply 90,000 times 10%, I come up with $9,000 depreciation the first year. So now my accumulated depreciation is at 9,000, right? So if I take 90,000 minus the 9,000, I have a book value of $81,000 at this time. Now for next year, I take the book value as my base and multiply that times 10% and come up with $8,100 in depreciation. I add the $8,100 onto the $9,000 and come up with $17,100 accumulated depreciation and a book value of $72,900. Now, that $72,900 gets put down here, and you do the whole process all over again. Now, where does the accumulated depreciation come in? Or not the accumulated, the residual? In this case, it won't. It never gets taken into consideration. But when you start down through doing your depreciation, if there were a residual amount, you can never depreciate under that amount. And we'll do a couple of them so I can show you how that works. So let's wrap up real quick. 3 ways to do depreciation. We can do it the units of production, we can do it straight line, and we can do it double declining. And we'll do a couple of these so that you can get used to how to calculate those out. So that is how you do depreciation. Make sure you keep that worksheet for depreciation handy.